Oops.
All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen and let's go through the board.
Sounds good.
And I'm going to open up the Geo discussion document.
Your screen is not a widescreen. Now it is.
Is it widescreen now?
Yep. Don't quite know why that didn't happen, but
it's because I usually start up the windows taking up half of the screen, and then I make it wider for this call because I know that it doesn't do widescreen unless you tell it to be wide, which is annoying. But okay, in the closed column, like that. Okay, in the closed column today, this is merged, which is wonderful and lovely.
Yeah.
And this also helps us unblock getting Geo on staging working performantly.
Correct.
So this is wonderful that this is now in.
Yeah. So
I see there's a release post item. I'm just checking that that's there.
Yeah, I pulled it out actually. So
you did? Okay.
Yes, the reason for it is this is actually feature flagged.
Oh,
so,
of course, yes.
The
issue actually, for the feature flag.
Yeah, so like I felt this is like the actual change would only happen if you like activate it, and I think until that happens, that's the thing that we shouldn't announce, right?
Agreed.
And so I pulled it out. That was a late catch. I thought it was not feature flagged, but
yeah, I also wasn't aware that it was feature flagged. Do you have the ticket for to remove the feature flag?
Yes, I do. Can you go to the MR? I think I just referenced the MR, and then from there it's easy to follow. Yep. And then there should be like a related issue or something. If they ever. Yes.
Okay, then this is the one that has the release post item on it.
Yeah. And I think you can actually move this into ready for development now that we are at it. I think the two things, as I understand, that need to happen is enable this on staging and actually see that it works, and then also test it on local GCP items, because on local, like a GCP installation, and run some tests there, and then we could remove it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like with the self-service developer framework, I decided to keep it in the release post because that's more developer focused, right? And so the package files are still feature flagged, but I think that is a different matter, right? The actual code is in. So
yeah, the package files are an implementation of that framework, and I think it's separate. So yeah, that's I agree with that.
Agreed.
Okay, rewriting the form in Vue. I'm glad to see. Why is there still one open MR on this, but the issue is closed?
I don't know.
I will ask Zack.
It's also this MR will officially close this issue, and then the issue was actually closed via a different merge request.
No, but that issue is still open. This MR will officially close this issue, but this is a merge request, not an issue.
Yeah. So I think his comment like a month ago.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But then like Kushal closed this via a merge request 4 hours ago. So I think that is the mistake.
I want to ask him, does this mean that 22719 should now be closed? Because it says here, this should close that, but it hasn't. And Kushal has closed this. So I'm going to ask if we should close that. Lots of this is in that sentence.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to leave that where it is. I'm not going to take it off the closed column. Okay. Enable. Oh, that's new. I didn't see that. Enable object storage. Closing this, since the chef changes have been merged, we can access the project page. And that was last night. Hooray!
Yep. That sounds good.
Oh, that's really good news.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the tunnel at the end of the light, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, with the staging bits.
Yeah, it's coming along now. This is really good. Okay, replicating objects in object storage. Right, schedules the removal and resync. This is the bug.
Yes, that was fixed.
Great. Okay. So I'll just take active off when this is done.
Yep.
Great stuff.
Can you do me a favor on that one? Just
yeah.
I think it didn't actually ever have a milestone.
And now it does.
Yes. Yep. Just for tracking purposes.
Okay. Query to retrieve job artifacts always uses the selective sync version.
So I quickly spoke about that with
okay.
Yeah, I think there's no potential for data loss, if I understood correctly. It just is slow and wrong.
Yeah.
And so now it's fast and correct.
Which sounds much better than slow and wrong.
Yes. Slow and wrong sounds like my brain, after 5 p.m. in the evening.
Okay. Right, I'm going to refresh this. So now there's 2 in verification here. I see one about package files. So why is this in verification here? Oh, it's because but Mike's put the thumbs up.
Maybe did he mean in review? Or I don't know.
I'm just going to say this doesn't look like it's gone. Well, let me just have a look if this has been reviewed. Because I want to just put it back into review, but you two have both had a look at this. One suggestion. So I think I'm just going to say moving this back because there's one open comment on the review on the MR.
Mm-hmm.
And last one here, failing to replicate avatars, which was a customer bug that was located. There's been a lot of back and forth here. Okay, so you're happy to keep this open for a little while still?
Well, I'm happy either way.
Because this has got the MRs in there.
Yeah, I just...
Okay, well then let's just leave it open for another couple of days and see if there's anything else that comes up.
Sounds good.
Reference counter. Now that Gabrielle is back from leave, I'm going to ask him to get this one finished. '21, possibly.
I can't believe that February is almost done.
What's happening to this year? Okay, blocked our friend the LFS file. Oh, sorry, our friend the LFS task.
Yep, well, it's...
Yeah.
I feel a bit sad. I feel like...
Yeah.
But, I really feel this is not our, our fault.
Well, the thing is, there's 2 choices we could have made at well, we had a choice of 2 things when we started this. It was either we do the work and we control it and we fix it and we ship it.
Yeah.
Or we get the team that is working with us to do the works and fix it and ship it. And at the time, And I still agree that we've made the right decision, because we can't always be picking up everything in the whole code base, even though we'll end up finding stuff just because of the nature of Geo. So
Yep.
I still believe that this was the right process to follow, but I understand that this is super frustrating for the customer.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the long and short of it.
So,
okay.
In development, this planned failover, I saw that there was some work that had been done to set the machines up to unblock Jenny. So hopefully Jenny is now good to go. I know that she's on rotation this week, so she'll probably only get to it next week.
Okay, well, that's good.
Okay, add in a service to do the checksum on the primary. Yeah, he's done the merge request. Oh, yeah, okay. There's a merge request that's in progress. Monitoring for staging, I saw that Tone has jumped in to help with this one, which is good. Logging of the sync services.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
There was some complexity around this that Ash and I were talking about earlier in the week.
It's been hanging around for a while.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he said he thought this would be easier than it's landed up being. But I see that oh, right, this is the one. There's the following needs to be added. He reopened it. He's changed the description, but there hasn't been any other commits here. Okay, I'll follow up about this. Investigate orphaned registries. Okay, this has been an interesting one because it's highlighted a problem that could also happen for customers who do this. What happened was we activated the node and said, please sync everything. Realized that we couldn't sync everything because things were timing out. So we narrowed it down to just be selective sync, but that means that there's a whole bunch of orphan projects.
Oh, okay.
So we now have to go in and manually delete all of those projects. There is a script for that, but the script is also timing out. So we're having to limit how much data is returned.
Okay.
So Douglas is running that repeatedly, but it is quite time consuming. So that might actually be something that we should look at correcting
that behavior
as a separate issue. Yeah. Okay, doing this one. This was the selective sync proxy. See, it's still work in progress there. I'm just going to open that up quickly and see what's going on with it. See, he was adding tests to this when I look at what he was up to overnight. So I think that these commits are about adding tests. And he was planning to unwork in progress that today. Maybe he just hasn't finished the tests part. Okay. Switch the default alert to the modal. Right, this was about, it was using the wrong.
The wrong alerting, essentially.
Yeah, so he was switching that over. And that's still a work in progress MR there. Okay, this was me related to estimating costs for GitLab.com. Yeah, we're still progressing with that, and I see there's been a really good comment that I need to now go and dissect properly on this one here. So, adding the generic conformal modal. Yeah, so this was going to be a generic component that Zack is going to be contributing in.
Oh, that's really good. So that's going to be a bigger contribution outside of Geo, essentially.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. This is the second generic component that he's been able to put together, and yeah, it sounds like it has the potential for a nice, good impact. So that's really positive. Cool. And last one here, this one, this follows off the back of the other single source of truth MR. moving things into the registry tables, and it was for job artifacts, uploads, and projects as requested by Douglas, so that we could unblock staging even further. And he's done it for job artifacts and uploads. So there's one last one of our projects.
Which is actually, like, if I understand correctly, once those things are done and verified, we essentially can get rid of foreign data wrappers.
Well, then the step to get rid of foreign data wrappers is much, much smaller.
Yeah.
And if we get rid of foreign data wrappers, there's a massive simplification across a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot. So we might need to consider when this one is finished, if we should have an epic for getting rid of the foreign data wrappers that comes in earlier, because then we're gonna see improvements across you know, ease of installation, ease of upgrading, the documentation can get changed.
Yeah, no, I think actually, like, the way I look at it is this is kind of well, it is and it isn't. It's like if we look at the framework idea of this, right? I think this is the kind of stuff that in the back end we should make it as simple as possible, right? And not rely on complex things like this. Right? And I think we can sort of tag it on, right, as a part of making this framework easy to use, right? Also for end users, like reduce upgrade problematics and so on and so forth. So I think it may be worth sort of tagging it onto that effort, because it's just a good time to do it.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll be really happy when that's there, because as I mean, I understand why foreign data wrapper was used initially, but there are some complexities to it. So by removing it, we're just going to make it simple in so many places. It's really, really good. Right, that's everything in dev. So shall I switch controller over to you?
Sure.
It's all yours.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so well, so I actually thought that Tone had started working on this, on these two here.
Let me have a check through the Geo Lounge for the week.
So as well, at least on this one, he said starting this one as we speak.
Well, that was yesterday. Okay.
Speaking to himself, I suppose. So I think we can move this into in development.
Okay.
I think that's pertinent. Okay, then I don't know if he started this one. Let's keep it out for now.
Yeah, I'd assume he's working on one, not both. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this one here, I just moved to the bottom of the pile. I think Jenny will get to the planned failover first, and then to this, but I'll keep it in. This one here, the create events for package files, the file, like the replicable file strategy, those are the things that are still needed. I think X plus this one, which I'll pull over. These are the 3 items that are required to close the first implementation for package file replication. Yeah, so we have the consume, create, implement file. Is this true? Give me 1 second. So we have the consume, create events, which is here. Implement file download for replicable. Yep, that's here. The produce, create events, is that in dev already?
Oh, there was one that was actually in review. Yeah, produce, create events is in review.
Yep, and then the last one here is the replicate creation of new package files. which is this one. So these are the 3 items that would close that epic. So I leave them in here because I really would like them to finish. So we have finished the item here for that epic.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask. I'm just checking if who's. Yeah, I'm going to ask if those can get picked up quite quickly, because they're not tiny, but they're smallish, and I'm not sure what Gabrielle's taking a look at now that he's back from leave, but he might be open to taking some of that. And I think I'll put that in the geo discussion thing, that we've got essentially 3 issues left to close that epic out. It is 3 issues left. Was it 4
Correct.
issues? 3.
No, it's 4, but 1 is in 4. Review.
And that's for the replication part.
Correct.
Okay.
And then for the verification part, we have 1 already in progress. The second one in that epic is this one here: ensure package file checksum on primary, which is over here. I could move it over, but I think then we have certainly enough in the in dev section. We could also leave it here, but I'm kind of inclined to move it over.
I would say move it over to the bottom of the 4.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, to there, because at least then there's no question as to what's going to come next.
Correct. And then this here is the push proxy item.
Yes. Yeah.
That should stay in there as the next item. This one
Ash
here.
will pick the one up next.
Yeah. This one here needs to be done.
Maybe pull that one to the top of the list.
And this can stay as well.
Yeah.
And then I think after this, like, we have like a few deliverables here, right? The command line tool for pausing and resuming. That's something we wanted to do, but I don't want to put it in here right now because we just have all of those things.
Yeah.
So I think this is good enough. And other than these items, yeah, we already have we have more than enough deliverables to tackle this. This release. So
I suppose now we're on to 12.9 now in terms of deliverables.
Yes. So if we look at 12.9 planning here, this has actually closed, right? When deployments are issued for staging on geo.com, this one is being worked on. This has not been worked on yet, but we have a little bit of time. For the self-service framework, these 4 are now all ready for development and scheduled. But like, this one is being worked on. This is scheduled, right? We haven't scheduled the API bits yet, but I think Zack is still busy with some other things, so I think that's fine. The command line tool here is not yet scheduled, but it can be picked up once some of those things are being done. This is actively being worked on. This is actively being worked on, and that's it. So
the one thing that I realized is that I said that for the 12.8 planning issue, I would go back and put a summary of what we did. I've realized that I've done that, but I haven't actually spoken about why we didn't hit the deliverable target. So I still need to do that. So let me just make myself a note there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. I think from a planning perspective, what I need to do in the next couple of weeks is I had quite a few very productive discussions based on some customer feedback on potential for proxying requests for the secondary web interface. And I don't know if you've seen this. I had a really nice chat yesterday evening with Mike about
Ooh, okay.
sort of a path forward to essentially, like the idea is that, we should maybe proxy everything by default to the primary, unless we can provide an additional benefit by not doing this through the secondary. And I think that is quite interesting as sort of a change in how we think about it. And I think what we can also still do is we can make that the new default, but still keep the old way around, right? So we sort of swap around at some point, which I think will mean that we don't have to wait for a major release, but in the next major release, we can kind of retire the secondary web interface if it doesn't make much sense.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's one of the discussions. I think this is a POC that we need to do to establish how this could work. But it would have quite a few advantages and open up, I think, an entire pathway sort of for additional improvements over time.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
So that's an interesting thing to think about. It's also nice because that is another opportunity where we won't get to it this month, maybe not even next month, but then actually at that point we may have a really nicely broken down epic with an established POC where we can, then actually do the things relatively swiftly, at least to sort of a first MVP iteration. I think that would be quite valuable for quite a few of our customers.
Absolutely. And I like how this issue is quite, it actually does lay out a path forward.
Yes.
It's not just in general, this might be an idea. It's like, these are the things that we could actually do to do this.
Yes. And so, yeah, it's a bit tricky because we have a little bit of uncertainty regarding the users of the Geo web interface itself. That being said, I've spoken in the last few months to enough customers who have concerns regarding the usability of the secondary web interface that I feel quite confident that an alternative with a like that makes the user experience better, right, is something that many of our customers would value, and we could minimize the risk of taking something completely away by just swapping the defaults. That's my current thinking. It's like we don't disable the thing as it is like right now, but we just say by default the behavior will change. You can still go back to the old behavior if you want to. Yeah, we'll see. I think that could be quite interesting, and we'll see how it goes. But I think this is something that Sinjung can also help with. Yeah, like I feel like with the user experience side of things, with the secondary web interface, we've boxed ourselves in a little bit. I can't really see a good path forward in making that much better, right? As in, you could gray out things and make it nicer, in a read-only interface, but that feels like not really solving the right problem, right?
And that also feels like it's a lot of work to still not solve the right problem.
Yes, and so maybe here we just have to adjust a little bit and see what's possible, and yeah, that's sort of an update. But yeah, I think at the moment, from sort of a planning roadmap perspective, I think we have a lot of like pipe left in a way for like some of the things we're doing right now with like the disaster recovery angle, right, and the self-service framework. But I think we have quite an interesting opportunity here to start thinking about this in parallel to improving the administrator interface to sort of make significant improvements in the UX of Geo overall, and not only in the sort of robustness of the system and additional features in DR.
Mm.
The main problem is that I would love to have like twice as many talented as engineers as like we have right now, and it turns out that people like Mike actually need to sleep, right? And so what I'm saying is there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, there's always more work. Yeah.
to organize it in the right order, right, of things.
Well, that's it. And I think that's a really challenging piece for yourself, is what is the most impactful thing that we can do, because it's all about wading through the list of stuff and figuring out what the most important thing is to do first. And
it's true.
Yeah.
And I think the good news is, I think, because we have a Kanban-like process, actually, depending on what we determine is most important, for a given month, or let's say a month is probably the planning horizon for a concrete action, right? We can swap around things pretty quickly if we really need to.
Yeah.
But I also think that we shouldn't stop things in the middle of doing them,
No, well, I mean, then it becomes inefficient to just constantly switch everything. It's about, this is the project that we're working on, and the next thing that will come up can change at a moment's notice until the implementation starts. And I think that's what's so valuable about this. It's not saying, well, that's the next project because we've decided it, even though it's not really important anymore. It's decided, so we're still going to do it, which is where I think long-term planning fails a little. So no,
correct.
it's good.
But that's I think the state of play.
Awesome. If that's the state of play, can I have 5 minutes of your time after I've stopped the recording?
Sure.
Cool.